Chapter 2, Mishnah 3. From here until the end of the chapter, the Mishnah returns to the topic that was discussed in the previous chapter, whether items are considered connected, so that one who touches one of them is considered as if he touched the other with respect to the laws of Tumah. This Mishnah discusses the status of the ingredients of a spiced porridge, a type of thick soup that is both terumah and chulin ingredients. If a porridge was made of terumah grain or beans and it was seasoned with garlic and oil of chulin, and a Tevul Yom touched any part of it, even only the garlic or oil, which are chulin and thus usually not subject to becoming tameh if touched by a Tevul Yom, the law is that he renders the entire mixture unfit, although he did not touch the terumah at all. The garlic and oil are not regarded as chulin foods that are separate from the porridge, but as part of the terumah porridge itself. Thus, it is as if the Tevul Yom touched the porridge itself, and it becomes unfit. But in the opposite case, if a porridge was made of chulin grain or beans, and it was seasoned with garlic and oil of terumah, and a Tevul Yom touched part of the terumah, garlic, or oil, the law is different. Only the place where he actually touched is rendered unfit, and the rest of the garlic and oil, as well as the porridge itself, remain tahor. In this case, we view the entire mixture as a chulin porridge, which cannot be made unfit by the touch of the Tevul Yom. Therefore, the porridge itself, as well as any oil and garlic that the Tevul Yom did not touch directly, are tahor. Only the terumah that was touched directly by the Tevul Yom is rendered pasul. However, this leniency applies only when the porridge is the majority, that is, the quantity of grain or beans in the mixture is greater than the quantity of spices. But if the garlic and spices of terumah make up the majority of the mixture, we follow the majority to decide the status of the mixture, and it is thus considered as if it were entirely made of terumah. Accordingly, if the Tevul Yom touches any part of it, all of it becomes pasul, as in the first case of the Mishnah. Another Tana explains that this last law does not apply in all cases. Rabbi Yehuda says, when can the majority of garlic be viewed as the main ingredient of the porridge, and give the whole mixture the status of terumah? Only when the cloves of garlic, were placed as a single mass of garlic in the pot, and the person's intention was that it should remain whole, rather than being separated and spread throughout the porridge. But if the garlic was pounded and separated in a mortar, where his intent was clearly to separate the garlic into little pieces and use it only as seasoning, and then it was placed in the porridge, the chulin porridge remains tahor if the terumah garlic was touched by a Tevul Yom, even if the garlic makes up the majority of the mixture. For once the person has shown by pounding the garlic in a mortar that his desire is for the garlic to be separated and spread throughout the porridge, it can never be viewed as one single entity. As such, the porridge will not take on the status of terumah, for the garlic cannot be considered its majority, and the Tevul Yom who touches the terumah garlic will render pasul only the garlic that he actually touched, as explained in the Mishnah's second case. It emerges that the question of whether the garlic is considered a single mass that can change the status of the porridge or not depends on whether the person's intent was to leave the garlic as a single mass, or to spread it throughout the porridge as seasoning. The Mishnah now explains that this law, that if one intends for an item to be left as one mass, it will lend its terumah status to a mixture of which it is the majority ingredient, can be true even if the item was ground, depending upon the way that the item was processed. And this is true as well of all other foods that are ground together with one of the 7 liquids. Even if a food was ground in a mortar, if one added liquid during the pounding process, for example, when grinding wheat, it was common to add some water to the wheat kernels, and the person's intent was to leave the ground pieces as a single mass, then the liquid used in the grinding process will combine the pieces into one unit. And if they are terumah, they will determine the status of a mixture if they are the majority ingredient. However, if something is commonly ground together with a liquid, but he ground it without adding any liquid, then there is nothing to combine the ground pieces into one unit. Therefore, even if the pieces are clumped together in the mixing bowl, they are not considered to be joined together into one entity, just as a round cake of pressed figs is viewed as many individual and separate fruits rather than a single unit. As such, they do not combine to change the terumah status of a mixture even if they are the majority ingredient, because each piece is viewed separately, and it is not a majority ingredient on its own. Therefore, if the Tevul Yom were to touch one part of these foods, he would render only the part that he actually touched pasul.